The year 2026 is quietly becoming one of the most talked about years among economists, technologists, investors, and policy experts, not because of one dramatic prediction, but because so many independent voices are beginning to agree on the same general direction. When thousands of forecasts from banks, research firms, technology companies, and global institutions are analyzed together, a clear picture starts to form. The future they describe is not a world of sudden collapse or explosive growth, but a world adjusting to pressure, adapting to change, and slowly redefining what stability really means. Experts do not see 2026 as a clean reset after years of disruption. Instead, they see it as a continuation of transformation, one where old systems bend, new systems mature, and people are forced to rethink how they work, invest, and live. At the center of this outlook is a global economy that keeps moving forward, but without the comfort it once had. Growth is expected to continue, yet it will feel uneven and fragile. Advanced economies are predicted to struggle with slower expansion due to aging populations, high government debt, and long-term productivity challenges. Emerging economies, on the other hand, are expected to grow faster, driven by younger populations and faster adoption of digital technologies. Inflation, while expected to ease compared to recent years, is not expected to disappear entirely. Interest rates are likely to come down gradually, but the era of ultra-cheap money is widely seen as over. This creates an environment where economic decisions become harder, mistakes cost more, and long-term planning becomes essential rather than optional. What makes 2026 particularly different from previous years is the role of technology, especially artificial intelligence. Experts overwhelmingly agree that AI will no longer be a background tool by this point. It will be embedded into daily work, business decisions, and even personal life. This does not mean machines will suddenly replace everyone. Instead, the nature of work itself is expected to change. Tasks that once took hours may take minutes. Roles that depended on routine thinking may shrink, while roles requiring judgment, creativity, and adaptability become more valuable. The fear surrounding AI is real, but so is the opportunity. Experts consistently emphasize that the biggest risk is not AI taking jobs, but people refusing to adapt to how quickly it changes the way value is created. This shift naturally spills into the job market, where uncertainty is expected to grow even if unemployment numbers remain relatively stable. Many people will feel less secure, not because they are unemployed, but because career paths are no longer predictable. The idea of staying in one role for decades continues to fade. Skills begin to matter more than titles, and learning becomes a continuous process rather than a phase of life. Remote and hybrid work are expected to become fully normalized by 2026, with companies hiring talent globally instead of locally. This opens doors for many, but it also increases competition in ways that can feel overwhelming. Experts describe this as a psychological shift as much as an economic one, a world where adaptability becomes the most important professional skill. On the global stage, experts foresee a world that feels less unified and more fragmented. Globalization does not disappear, but it becomes selective. Supply chains are redesigned to be more regional. Economic policies become tightly linked to national security. Major powers continue to compete for influence, technology leadership, and strategic resources. This does not automatically mean large-scale conflict, but it does mean increased tension and less predictability. Decisions once made purely on economic logic are increasingly influenced by politics and public opinion. The global system becomes more complex, and navigating it requires caution, diplomacy, and resilience. Financial markets, according to expert consensus, are also expected to reflect this complexity. The easy gains of the past decade are unlikely to return. Returns may be lower on average, volatility higher, and speculation more risky. Investors who rely on hype or short-term trends may struggle, while those who focus on fundamentals, diversification, and long-term thinking are expected to perform better. Markets in 2026 are not seen as broken, but they are seen as demanding more discipline and understanding than before. The message from experts is subtle but clear. Skill matters more than luck in the years ahead. Climate and environmental pressures are another area where expert agreement is strong. By 2026, climate change is expected to be less of an abstract debate and more of a lived reality. Its effects are predicted to influence food prices, insurance costs, migration patterns, and infrastructure planning. Rather than asking whether climate change is happening, experts believe societies will focus on how quickly they can adapt to its consequences. Investment in resilience, clean energy, and adaptation technologies becomes not just a moral choice, but an economic necessity. The climate conversation shifts from ideology to practicality. Beyond economics and technology, experts also highlight the emotional and psychological dimension of the coming years. A world that changes this fast creates stress, uncertainty, and fatigue. Information overload, rapid innovation, and constant economic pressure can weigh heavily on individuals and communities. At the same time, there is a growing desire for meaning, balance, and mental well-being. Experts predict that people will increasingly redefine success, valuing flexibility, health, and purpose alongside income and status. This cultural shift may be less visible than market movements or technological breakthroughs, but it could be just as important. Despite all these trends, experts are careful to emphasize that consensus does not mean certainty. Wildcard risks remain. Financial shocks, geopolitical escalations, misuse of technology, or sudden environmental events could shift the trajectory in unexpected ways. What consensus offers is not a guaranteed future, but a map of the most likely paths ahead. It highlights where pressure is building, where opportunity exists, and where preparation matters most. Ultimately, the expert vision of 2026 is neither dystopian nor utopian. It's a world in transition, demanding more awareness, more learning, and more flexibility than before. Those who understand the forces shaping this future early are more likely to navigate it successfully. The coming years are not about predicting every outcome perfectly, but about being ready to adjust when reality changes. In that sense, 2026 is not just a destination on the calendar, it's a test of how well individuals, businesses, and societies have learned to adapt in an age of constant change.